put patterns, and we have a country.
Okay, Joel, want to start?
Yeah, I really liked a lot of your text. Like, I thought all of it was written, like, was really well chosen. Like, talking about, like, that exclamation mark moments and that sort of thing. I really like the use of the stairs outside, like the way that they kind of go into the public space. I thought was really good, and I like especially the picture of, it's like musicians sitting on the stairs, like that kind of use of the stairs. I thought was pretty like.
Yeah, I like that feel personally.
That's pretty right on, I think. I really like inside, like the thing, like I think like the bridge that kind of goes over. I think that works really well, like looking down into the area. And I like the stairs. And was it intentional that the stairs had lights on the sides? When you look down the stairs, there's lights on the side.
There's a window by the stairs.
Is that why?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you actually had like lighting built into the stairs. It looks really cool. But yeah, okay, yeah. The only thing one thing that wasn't sure about was the lines on like the railing. Like there's a lot of like crisscrossing of lines that I wasn't really sure read very well with this sort of like with the Japanese sort of aesthetic. And I was thinking maybe if you wanted to like consider use something like wood and glass, because because the door uses wood and glass, and maybe you want to like have that same element inside the building. That might work better. Whatever. Yeah, it looks like it's this.
Yeah, and I didn't find it as distracting, although now that I looked at it, thought, what do I think about that, and in the end result, I was like okay with it. But I think it's a hierarchy thing that just every single one's just that little bit too big. And when you make them that long, it feels that much bigger, and then et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's more a hierarchy issue. Because in certain views, I thought that it worked really well as a kind of a binding unified.
Yeah. On the whole, I kind of like a lot of what you're doing with the interior form. I was finding that the interior, a lot of the views of the interior, I had a bit of trouble kind of making sense of the space and sort of like where we were in the building as a way that one would move through the experience. So in terms of making sure to communicate that, I think we can still move forward. The use of information graphics to give us a sense of things.
But there were things like while we're on this slide, like that wall surface and getting the texture of that wall and everything, that sort of stuff really paid off.
Yeah, and then another thing I mentioned with this slide is sort of like programming in and actually like very often when people try and bring in sort of like the reception desk and some of the actual kind of functional aspects of a building like this, they end up being done very badly. Mm-hmm. And this, I think, you actually managed to make it work in part because of well-chosen scale people and making sure that it kind of fits in the space. The choice to actually model some of Granville Island in the outside is a different way of making sure that we feel like there's a world outside of your building, getting a sense of where the windows are looking onto, I think was it was an effective way to do it. I think that whoever modeled the bridge is deranged, but it was.
But that's why he was.
That's why he was. That's why David got it. But as a payoff, the thing is you can model that and then it can end up being distracting and look like shit. But in this case, it actually really brought
Because the last thing for me is getting a little bit into your exterior urban space. I still like the stair thing we did before, and I think the way that the urban space works through the alleyway and giving the walkway a certain sense of its own zone, I think was really well done. The problem I have is that from that stair onwards, it just kind of peters out into nothing. What was once a parking lot is now a void, and so your site stitching into the rest of the alley with a rail spur, the rest of Grand Island, just wasn't there.
Like maybe if you did something like having like small windows into the gallery, into the showroom, and then having like a little bit of public seating, like just something like that would actually activate that space.
Yeah, and I'll pick it up there in terms of my comments. Like I think that partially maybe the reason why is that you as a team had to kind of back up and resolve this building form. And we had one team this morning who had to do that much sort of substantial redesign, and they just got completely held up. The building pretty much resolved itself. There was all kinds of other elements of the brief which didn't really progress. And I think what's impressive here is that outside of the urban, I would suggest that you pulled off pretty much in all the areas, a pretty, and despite the fact that you had to go back and resolve the building. So I think that, in a week's time, I'm cognizant of when you have to do that, it really does create a lot more work. So I'm seeing that as the reason why. And I think in a lot of ways it makes what you did therefore that much more impressive. Really good scale people, as Joel pointed out. Very believable representations of the space, particularly in the interior. As Joel said, really thoughtful. This presentation kept communicating thoughtful to me, and it was because of the great quotes and because of the ideas that you were dealing with and whatnot. That shelf system slide still is throwing me off. The funny thing is that, can you show that one with the two chubby guys? They're the wrong scale people. It's like, are there chubby guys in khaki pants out in the world that might wander into this place? Sure, but are they the target audience? Probably not. Nothing wrong with chubby fat guy, but chubby white guy.
King, did you have to Photoshop? The King is very good Photoshop,
Yeah.
Like, not only do you have the wrong scale person, then you had to Photoshop a new King. Anyway,
I just got this last week. This thing with the fruit was the one that was distracting me the most, and this slide again. So there was this tiny bit of edit that, despite the fact that you have to know when to just let it go. It's like the rocket ship. Let it go. And so this is just one of these ones that you're pushing and pushing and pushing, and it ain't never going to get resolved. And putting a couple of chubby white guys from Tennessee in the picture is not helping.
But the idea of considering the smallness of the product is a really good idea.
Absolutely.
It just might not be. You might have to, like Russell saying, like you might have to let go of this form.
There you go.
Hold on to what works, which is the idea.
Right.
Take that idea into a different context.
And that said, as Joel's saying, the difficult part is representing small products like that is tough. That's why we kept telling you to be careful of it. Okay, so the building form is resolved inside and out, so check there for sure. Okay, done. Next.